Hey everybody, David Cooper here with Line Haul News. I've got Mitch Adams with me from M3 Traffic. Mitch, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me, David. We've been
Yep.
trying to do this for a while.
I know we actually we were just chatting about the MATS conference that's right here in Louisville in my backyard. Mitch came to it. I was out of town during it, but he was kind of discussing the some types of people and what we've seen kind of across all markets of logistics and having some good laughs with it. But Mitch, why don't you carry on and tell them what we were just talking about?
Yeah, so it was kind of funny. And David, you meet these types of people, and just meeting so many people all at the same time, because there's like 50,000 people there. Then on my flight home, I kind of categorized people into three different buckets. And then I realized like it is so true throughout our lives. So the first type of person we met is the grumpy pessimist. And these people they're just so mad at the trucking industry, which is so funny. When we are at the like the biggest trucking show in the nation, they're here just hating the trucking industry. And so we asked ourselves as we're talking to them, like, why are you even here? But it's funny. What's funny about them is that they're just mad because the stuff that used to work isn't working anymore, and they're not changing. So in recruiting specifically, the stuff that they're doing might have worked in 1994, but now they're like, no drivers want to drive. Nobody wants to do anything. Everybody sucks. So I'm just going to do everything myself and be miserable. And literally people said, I hate this industry. And we're at the biggest industry show, which was funny.
I've always found it funny that we have, especially it was the first Line Haul Summit. The two highest attended seminars in it were one where mostly everyone was griping about everything they hated about some things with being a contractor, but the most heavily attended one was how to grow and being a contractor. So it's I don't like it, but give me more, give me more. It's a
Yeah,
funny mindset.
it is a funny dichotomy. And
Yeah.
yeah, so the second type of person we met is the hopeless beginner. And these guys, they just haven't figured it out yet. They're trying to figure it out. And that's what these videos are for. That's why David Cooper, Linehaul News, all of you guys, what you're putting together is so good to help these people, because there are so many people out there that just don't know what they're doing. They want to know. But some of them, we met a guy that's kind of on the brink of like, I might just sell my trucks and shut down rather than figuring it out and pursuing what can be a good business. He's just like, I'm just going to sell and shut down,
Yeah.
which is too bad. So everybody watching this is fantastic because you're learning to get past that. To hopefully become the last type of person, which is the confident professional. These are the guys like David Cooper that they figured it out. They adapt for the times. They adopt new recruiting for a new age. And because of that, their trucks are full. They know where their next driver is coming from, and they have a business. And life is a lot better, seems to be a lot better once you get to stage and just figure it out. And all it is just, I think, the attitude of overcoming the challenges. Because really, as you think about it, all three types of these people, they are literally in the same exact industry, the same exact business. They just approach it so differently with their mindset that then the outcome is vastly different.
Yeah, well, that's where I've learned a lot, and I continue to learn. Like, right, you say I'm one of the different types of professionals. I think what I do a lot different than a lot of people in space is I'm continuously learning. I listen to guys like you. I've listened to several of your clients who have been on stage, and they say, "Hey, you're always recruiting. You always got to be bringing drivers in. Doesn't matter staff's full or not. It's to your point. You want to be overstaffed. You want to have guys on the bench
Yeah.
on the reserve ready to go. So it's continuously learn, continuously find new things, listen to people who are success. Brian O'Connor with Paradiso, he always says that learn from success, right? Success breeds success.
Yes.
And that's what I've
Yep.
always tried to do. It's I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. I want to be the dumbest guy in the room so that I can hear from everybody else. So I've learned a lot from you. You've got this new thing that you want to kind of bring out to the crowd. You call it AMP recruiting, right? That's the kind of the trademark to it, or not the title to it you've put on there.
Yeah. So what we found, what we really identified over the years, we've worked with dozens of confident professionals, and we've identified that whether people are working with us or not, to be honest, then they follow a new pattern of recruiting, and we've coined it and termed it AMP recruiting. And so I'd love to just go through that, tell why it's different, tell how everybody here can start implementing it, because it is different and it is what works. It's proven to work. So
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
AMP recruiting stands for attract, micro interview, and process. So in the attract phase of recruiting, then you need to gather as many applicants as possible by reaching all the drivers in your area. And here's a key piece of it, regardless of employment status. So often people will only post to one source, which is usually the job boards. And so you're only finding a small section of the driver market. It's like if the driver market has 100,000, and you're only posting to one source, you're only going to get in front of a few of them. And then you're going to be kind of sorting out the best that's in that bucket. And we sometimes say that if a driver is looking for a job, there might be a reason. So
I was going to say,
keep
I was
that in
getting ready to
mind.
jump in. I usually don't like hiring the guys that are out there actively looking. It's kind of like I want the
Yeah.
referral, or I want the guy that's like, oh, I heard this is a good opportunity. So good
Yeah,
mindset.
exactly. Yep. And so that's what we do. So three key things that you can take away from this, from the attract portion, is number one, improve your offer. As a FedEx contractor, like, you guys have a lot of great things about your job. You have stable home time, stable freight, good balance, home life balance. You have usually new trucks, because FedEx requires pretty new trucks.
Yeah. Drop and
So
hook is a
highlight all
big
of those
one.
things. Oh yeah, drop and hook.
Yeah. No
Highlight those
touch
things.
freight.
Like, talk about those things. We have another client that's outside FedEx that he's offering 1,200 a week, and they're going to be out for 4 weeks at a time. And I think they have to touch the freight and deal with all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, and they're not getting that many leads. And we're
Yeah.
like, well, you got to
We
improve the
run
offer.
right. We run inside and outside, and a big selling point that I just go, guys, you don't have to do BOLs. Like, you don't have to touch paperwork. Just that side that FedEx takes care of it. It's like, I
Oh,
always call it trucking light, but there's just so much
yeah.
of it that we don't have to handle. It really makes the driver's job easier too.
Yeah. And so think about those things, because telling drivers that you don't have to do paperwork, that costs nothing. You don't have to increase your cents per mile. You don't have to do a guaranteed weekly pay. You don't have to do a sign-on bonus. You don't have to do any of that to just tell people, we have drop and hook freight. You're going to be home every day if it's solo, or you're going to be home every week if it's team. And you don't have to do paperwork, all this stuff. That doesn't cost anything. So just highlight that stuff when you're putting your ads out there. And then the second key for attracting more drivers is to outreach in more places. Like we said, if you're only going to one source, the one job board, then you're only going to get a small circle. So the best way that we have to diversify out is to social media. 95% of humans are on social media, and I would argue that that might be higher in the trucking industry. So we have found tremendous success. We've generated over 100,000 leads. We have helped FedEx contractors grow from 60 trucks to 140 trucks using exclusively social media ads to recruit drivers. So, because you get in front of the entire driver market, and you can diversify and get in front of everyone regardless of employment status. And then the last piece is just understanding the numbers. We talk to a lot of people that what they expect is that a guy calls in, or they fill out your job application or whatever, and you think you're going to hire like a 1-to-1 ratio of like somebody was interested to somebody's going to get hired. It doesn't work that way. Like, it's never worked that way, and it never will work that way. So understanding the numbers of what it's going to take, what we found, and I don't know what you found, David, but we found that generally you're going to need 20 leads to hire one good driver if you have a solid job offer and if you're a good recruiter. Do
So
you know what you guys find?
yeah, I've used a 20-10-2 has always been our goals. So if I need to hire for a position, I'm hoping to get 20 of those, or 20 people reaching out to me saying, I'm interested. I'd like to be a part of this. I want to get 10 of those people an application into First Advantage. And I'm
Uh-huh.
hoping that 2 of those 10 can get approved fast enough that the people are still interested in the job.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's always been
So
my rule, is that I'm trying to get a 20-10-2 to where I've got 2 options of who I can choose from, who we want to hire, who we want to put in the seat.
yeah, and so understanding those numbers, that if you need 5 drivers this month, you're going to need 50 to 100 leads. And if you
Oh
need
yeah.
5 drivers every month, but you don't have a process in place to get 50 to 100 leads every single month, you're not going to win. Like, it's just simple math. And it's easy math if you do 1 out of 20. I mean, to be honest, for people watching this, I would do 1 out of 20 to be safe. And if you end up doing better, like 1 out of 10, like David's talking about, you're going to have double the number of drivers. So
Yeah.
that's even better.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's I think you're there, and that's, we've scaled that down. We've cured our practices. We've made things better around here to where we've gotten to that. Those numbers used to be much higher with us. We used to go after 40
Yeah.
leads for
Yep.
one job, and it's different with the job markets too. I think more recently, I think it's been a little bit
Yeah.
easier to get drivers on, so those
Yeah.
numbers changed, but in tough times, spins were bigger, and we were trying to draw throw a much bigger net out, as you're mentioning, to get more people in.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So things have changed. And I would say 1 out of 20 is a good long-term average. Sometimes it's going to be worse. Sometimes it's going to be better. And fortunately, right now it is better right now. So, the next step after attract, so you've attracted drivers. Once you've gotten people coming in, they're interested in your job, then what we suggest people do is a micro interview. And a micro interview is the typical process that some people will go through is they'll just want them to fill out the DOT application. And I think of this like dating. It's like, let's say you meet somebody on a dating app or whatever, and they're interested. They see your picture and they see 100-word description about you, and they're like, I like you, David. So let's go on a date. So they hit the interested button or whatever, however that app works. And then you send them in response a 10-page application asking for 10 years of employment history and everywhere they've lived and their firstborn's blood sample. Like, it's not going to work. But that's exactly what we're doing when somebody sits the I'm interested button on the job board or on Facebook or wherever you're collecting your applicants. They hit the I'm interested button and then you send them a DOT application. That's exactly what you're doing.
You don't usually send a marriage certificate application before the first date?
I don't usually. Fortunately, I am married. I don't say I was good at dating, but I never did that. So
yeah. I'm with you. We've always kind of taken that thing. And you've taught me this, and a lot of your, Randy taught me this, but be quick to reach out whenever you do have somebody apply. That little micro burst, just a quick phone call. Hey, I just got your application. Wanted to tell you a quick 30-second pitch about my job. Blah, 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 blah. Can I send you an application for it? I love it. You're right on the right track. That's what we've been doing for years.
Yep. And so how we structure this is into what we call a micro interview. And you have 3 goals. You want to qualify them, you want to pitch them, and then you want to pair them. Qualifying is make sure they meet the basic stuff, the quick question. Do they have a car? Go through those questions real fast. You can get through those in minutes. And then at worst, you've wasted 2 minutes. At best, you just move on to the next guy, right? And then you have to pitch them exactly like you need to have a very good pitch of why they want to drive you, because they have other people knocking down their phone to try to get them to drive with them. So you need to do that. And the best way to do that is find their pain. They have a pain about their current job or their current situation. Find out what that is, and then explain to them how you can solve that, if you can solve that. If you can't solve it, then just move on. Again, don't try to fit a circle into a square peg or whatever the saying is.
Yeah.
And then lastly, you just got to pair. Make sure they're a good culture fit, and only you're going to be able to figure that out. Like, I can't figure that out for you if they're going to be a good culture fit. So just talking to them and having a conversation with them, having a dynamic conversation, if they're going to be a good fit for your culture at your company.
That is, I think that's one of the best pieces of advice you've given. You've given a lot of great information so far, but retention is so key to the overall game of trucking, in my opinion, and recruiting is the first part of retention, right? And so taking your time, making sure that person fits your company culture, right? You got to be able to work with the guy. You got to be able to talk with the guy. You got to make sure that this guy, or gal that you're bringing on, that they understand the mindset of how you operate and they can kind of fit into that, because if not, it just disrupts the whole thing.
Yeah.
We've had that with drivers time and time again, to where they could be a really great driver. They could run big miles and be very, very safe. But if still they don't fit the company culture, it just causes so much headaches. It's not even worth the time, not worth the effort.
Yeah.
Great piece of advice.
So in this 10, 15 minute micro interview, you can do all of those things. And then they're going to be a lot more likely, once you tell them, okay, the next step is come and fill out the full DOT application. They're going to feel a lot more comfortable because they like you, they know you, and vice versa. You know them, like them, and trust them, hopefully. I mean, if you don't, then probably don't send it to them. And so the last piece of AMP recruiting is process. And, with First Advantage, it is what it is. Good luck. But a couple things is make it as easy as you can. Like, help them out, stay on the phone with them. Just make it as easy as you can. And then most importantly, because First Advantage is a pain, stay engaged with the candidate throughout the process. Because it takes a long time, keep them updated. Like, talk to them just for a couple minutes every day to just keep them updated, stay engaged, so that they know you haven't just forgotten about them in the First Advantage hole. And then maintain notes for yourself and your team as well, because if I know in your company, you're big enough that it goes through multiple people, right?
Oh yeah.
And so if you just have notes, rather than having to do a back and forth of like, oh crap, what's this guy's info? It's just there ready for the next person to just take it and move along with it, move the ball right along, having those notes easy to access.
Yeah, I do agree with you. And I want to just reiterate on that point of keeping that daily engagement. That's a great point there. And that's something that Donna in my office, you said, we've got people for it, but she was a contractor herself. before she
Oh.
started working with us. Her and her husband were on the home delivery side, but she understands kind of the pains and the process of First Advantage. And so it's been great for us. But one thing that she brought to our company, and she did it with hers before, was the daily contact through the process, through that onboarding process. We would send emails or blasts like that, but just that quick pick up the phone call, let them know, hey, we're working on it. We're doing everything we can. Do you know another contact at this company? Because this is what's holding us up right now. Or, can you get us
Yeah.
a phone number for them? Something like that. But just that daily engagement keeps people around because with our trucking company outside of FedEx, I can have a guy walk in today, put in his application, and he's on the road, 48 hours later, 24 if we really wanted to hustle.
Yeah.
It's not that way with FedEx, but that's what you're competing against, right? If you are hiring
Right.
those drivers we mentioned at the beginning that is out searching for a job, that needs a job, he's taking the first thing he can get. Even if your opportunity is
Yeah.
better, it may take 2 weeks. He can't afford that 2 weeks. So I love that daily contact. It's a great point on there.
Yeah. So overall, just quick couple action items that everybody can take, because I like having action items at the end of like a bunch of information,
Yeah.
is first of all, identify to help you attract more drivers, identify 5 to 7 bullet points that make your job awesome. We went through a couple of them, but just spend 5 minutes and point. I guarantee you'll come up with at least. And then have a short conversation with drivers before asking them to fill out the full DOT application. If you're not doing that already, just change your order of things, and I think you'll have a better success rate. And then lastly, stay engaged with your drivers throughout processing. Like if you start doing those 3 things alone, I think your recruiting will improve.
Mitch, I really do appreciate your time today. The information you provided really does hit home for me. It's stuff that we have adopted into our company over the years, and I think it's common traits that we have seen in the successful contractors in the community. I've said since day one, I've kind of changed my pitch lately, but I used to say that you were a staffing agency and then a truck fleet rental service. I now
Yeah.
say you're a safety company first, then a staffing agency, and then a fleet rental service. But staffing is definitely important of it. I think you and your company do a great job in helping a lot of contractors have success in this space, and really a lot of trucking companies in general, both in and outside of FedEx, have success with their recruiting efforts. And thank you again for kind of showing how once somebody has all the leads flowing to them from a company like yours, how they can really close the deal and do it. So anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up today?
I did want to share, if it's okay, we do have a tool that can help people with this entire process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we have a tool called Alice, and this is just a quick overview of how it helps with each step of AMP recruiting. So in the attract piece, we have proven ad templates where you'll be able to launch ads in a couple minutes a week that are proven to get hundreds of driver leads. Okay. And then the micro interview, then we will, like you said, an instant response to your leads is super important. And so what we've programmed in is where the system will automatically respond with immediately. There's no delay, and it will invite them to schedule an interview for you, so that it'll pick a time on your calendar, coordinate with your calendar, chunk these micro interviews together, so that you just back to back to back, you have a chunk of your day that is set out to do these micro interviews. Because simply put, if you have more micro interviews, you will hire more drivers. So attract and micro interview, you'll get more of them on there. And then process, we have what's called DOT Smart Send. So you can, if you have a DOT app that you like to use, then you can put in the link, and then it will when you want to, it'll automatically send the link to them to fill out that DOT application. And plus with that tool, we don't, I've heard a story where somebody like was tossed the keys for a Lamborghini and they got in, but they didn't know how to drive it. So in our case, we found that is kind of the case. We don't just toss you the keys and let you run with it. We will sit down with you for 6 weeks, hold your hand, make sure you know exactly how to use it, and make sure you get results. Because we also have a guarantee. So if you don't get results, then we have to refund you. So we make sure to hold your hand, make sure you get results, so that everybody's happy.
And that's definitely a good thing, especially for the new guys getting in, that you guys do that for them. Because I think the last thing and the biggest fear of anybody on our end of it owning these trucks is tossing somebody the keys and they don't know how to drive that. That's probably scarier than the Lamborghini. So
That's true.
great
That's
info
true.
today. Like I said, thank you for sharing so much. You've been truly helpful to so many contractors in this space through our freshman O, through our line haul 101s, and all the efforts we've done. You've always been willing to share your knowledge and tell people exactly how you do what you all do. And I think that's something that should be broadcasted out there, because you've been so instrumental to this community and just making contractors better and helping contractors staff. And that's, like I said, it's now number 2 on my list. Used to be number 1. So thanks again,
Yeah.
Mitch. Really appreciate your time today. And we'll look forward to chatting to you again here soon.
Cool. Thank you.